Get off my lawn! What's up, everybody? Welcome to Magic Dads here on the Old Cranky Man Collectibles YouTube channel. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe. Make sure you turn notifications on so that we get to annoy you every time we upload a video. That's free. If you'd like to help us out monetarily, there's a link to our Patreon campaign down in the description of this video. You can go there, make a contribution, get all kinds of extra content, and help grow the channel in the process. And with that out of the way, we are going to get into today's podcast, which is me trying to convince you Canadian Highlander players to stop playing Brainstorm. I'm gonna let that sink in. I'm gonna let that sink in for just a second.
Yeah, just take a second. So Brainstorm, legacy staple.
Yep. Restricted in vintage.
Restricted in vintage. It's
basically Ancestral Recall.
It is effectively.
I mean, if you know if you know what you're doing, every time you cast Brainstorm, it's just Ancestral Recall.
And in some cases, it's better. So there's the people that are really gifted at Magic, who are really talented, utilize Brainstorm's downside in a really spectacular way.
Yeah, in a proactive way. Yeah, the obvious one is like you can use a fetch land to get rid of these cards that aren't doing anything from your hand, put them on top of your deck, and then shuffle them away with a fetch land.
Yeah. Or like if you need a card in your deck, like a polymorph style deck.
Sure. Yep.
Yeah, like shuffle them
that's
away.
That's a proactive way to use Brainstorm.
Yeah.
So today I played Jeremiah's Sultai Palantir Lands deck, which so there's this card called Hidetsugu and Kairi.
Yeah.
Where when it enters, it's a Brainstorm, but then when it dies, you reveal the top card of your deck. And if that is an instant or sorcery, you get to cast it, and it deals damage equal to its CMC to your opponent. That's another proactive way that you can use a Brainstorm.
Yep. And
so
your deck is basically high mana cost deck.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Yes. Because you're using the Palantir. You're using the Palantir to try and deal them a whole bunch of damage.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you got Dig Through Time, you got Treasure Cruise, etc., etc., etc.
High mana cost.
The list just goes, quotation marks there. So they got this new card called Orcish Bowmasters, and this is the latest iteration in a long line of ways that you can screw a blue player when he or she or they cast a Brainstorm.
Yeah.
And this all goes back. This all goes back to an old card called Chains of Mephistopheles. Chains of Mephistopheles, a 2-mana enchantment that says if a player would draw a card outside of the first card he or she draws in his or her draw step, they discard a card.
Correct.
If you discard a card, you draw a card. If you don't discard a card, you mill a card. Correct.
And it's not a may. You have to do
It is not a may. You have to do this.
Yeah.
There have been so many additions to this. Like I said, most recently, Orcish Bowmasters.
Yeah.
We also have Notion Thief.
Yep. Hole Breacher.
Yep.
There's the Planeswalker.
Narset, Partner of Veils.
Yep. That's more of a punt, like can't do it.
Yeah. So I feel like no matter who I'm sitting down across from, they're going to have one or more of these cards in their deck, because not only are they just blue cards or black cards now, these cards are spreading out into other pieces of the color pie. And in the recent weeks, I have been got by Orcish Bowmasters so many times.
Yeah. It's floor you got me with today, which is I attacked with a 3/3. You cast it, dealt 1 damage to the 3/3,
and then double blocked.
Killed the you didn't even have to.
I
didn't have to draw a card.
Best fork bolt ever.
Best in the business. I tell you what.
Orcish Bowmasters is really, really, really good. And then like you could also put it into play and then cast a Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah, that's like pro step, right? It's like
it's a little bit over top, but that's a thing that you could do.
It honestly, it's not though, because you can end of turn your opponent's end step cast it, and then on your main phase, you know, you can time twister, you can Wheel of Fortune. What's the blue one with flashback?
Echo of Aeons.
Echo of Aeons.
Yeah.
All of these cards sort of like get you maximum value out of it, and yeah, we sort of had that with Hull Breacher and with Notion Thief and Narset, but we're approaching critical mass now.
It has reached a critical mass state. Yes.
Yeah.
So I know a lot of times recently on this podcast specifically, I have talked trash about certain cantrips. Or about treasure cruise, or sorry, about dig through time specifically. Yeah. But I have started to shift my decks more into those because they don't draw cards.
Yeah, sleight of hand, very good.
Yes, I have replaced Opt and or Consider with sleight of hand now. Look at the top two, put one of them into your hand. Orcish Bowmasters does nothing here. Yep. Expressive Iteration, a card that you should probably already be playing in your blue-red X decks. Very, very good. Fact or Fiction.
Yeah.
Very, very good.
Another very good card.
Yes.
Intuition and Gifts Ungiven, sort of in that same vein of
yes.
Card selection.
These are cards that you can create card advantage with without actually drawing cards.
Agreed.
And then also the new one, Sauron's Ransom.
Yeah, that's brand new.
Yeah, it's from the new Lord of the Rings set, and it is basically a fact or fiction. So 3 mana instant. Your opponent looks at the top 4. They make 2 piles, one face up, one face down, and then you get to keep one pile, and the other pile goes. I believe it goes onto the bottom of your deck. No,
does it?
I can't remember off the top of my head.
Extremely skill testing card.
Yeah. So I've cast it a lot of times at this point, and nobody has given me a 3-card pile yet, but I can't wait until somebody does.
Oh yeah, don't ever. Always make it 2/2. Fact or Fiction, sort of like
right. You don't have a choice. There's going to be a 3-card pile no matter.
There's going to be a 3-card pile.
Yeah,
it's more mana, but like instant speed. It's always like 6 of one, half a dozen the other.
Oh, they do go into the graveyard.
They go. Yeah, very good.
Yeah,
I think that card's insane.
And then the ring tempts you as well.
Why not? Just get additional value. I do think we're sleeping on that mechanic a little bit.
The ring tempts you
as an aside. Oh yeah.
Jay has a whole deck that's it's the hobbits are taking the ring to Mordor. It works. It's the ring tempts you deck, and it's very, very sweet.
Yeah, he's running, I think, no less than 20 Lord of the Rings cards in that deck.
Oh, there's probably way more than that.
Yeah, I just know that I saw a ton of them, and they were always impressive. Yeah. Even though that set isn't overpowered, I think that its power level is like actively very good. But yeah, so the lesson from Orcish Bowmasters, I think, is that Wizards acknowledges that they're giving us a lot of resources to draw additional cards in our deck selection, but they're also saying we need to be able to push back.
So I think probably they knew that the One Ring was going to make waves in the format that it's legal in.
I was trying to
you can very easily draw 6 cards at the low cost of just 3 life, and Orcish Bowmasters is an excellent way to mitigate that, because now not only are you going to lose the life in your upkeep, but you're also going to lose life every time you draw a card, because this thing is going to shoot you for 1 every time, and also it's making a creature. Like it's a nice balance, I suppose, in the formats that it's legal in, and I don't think that Canadian Highlander is like up at the top of their list.
No,
but I will say that of the 9 Canadian Highlander decks that we had today, I think 7 of them had a copy of the One Ring in their deck.
And rightly so.
Yeah, I mean, the card is cracked.
Yeah, any deck can play it, 4 mana.
So I had a game where I think I was at 2, and I had a One Ring with 3 counters on it. So I have a Cryptic Command. So I can tap your team, and put my One Ring back into my hand. And then on my turn, I can play my One Ring again. And then I get protection from everything. And then I get to draw another card. And then I have a Torrential Gear Hulk to flashback my Cryptic Command.
Yep.
And put the One Ring back into my hand again. And then I get to play it again and get protection from everything. And then I get to I had an Otawara. So I got to bounce it. Got to bounce it again. And then I had a Chain of Vapor. Like, I just kept getting to put the One Ring back into my hand and never actually losing any life, because you play it, you get protection, you draw a card, your opponent takes their turn, they can't attack you.
Yeah.
Well, they can attack you, but it doesn't do anything. They can't target you with spells, etc. And then you take your turn, you untap the One Ring, and then you, with the trigger on the stack, you tap it again. And as long as your way to bounce it is instant speed, you get to draw 2 cards and then put it back into your hand. And then as the ability resolves, the One Ring is gone, so it doesn't see any counter, so you don't lose any life.
Yeah.
So
it's sort of
you effectively just get to draw 3 cards there for 4 mana.
And you gain a ton of life.
Right, because
your opponent has any
protection
amount
from everything,
Yeah, and like it could be card draw, it could be protection of life, because they can't thought seize you, they can't hit you with any spells.
I will say though that I had I had this kind of thing going on against Jeff, and he stomped himself, like with the Bone Crusher. I had protection, and he stomped himself.
Yep.
And then attacked me, so I died.
Very good. Yes, sir. Excellent. Very good. We love to see that. Oh, what a play.
He goes, well, I think this works.
Yeah, it does. Stomp. Any like skull crack will just
I audibly groaned, and I was like, you have Bone Crusher Giant, don't you? And he showed it to me.
It's very good. But yeah, like you said, with the One Ring is just like the latest in a line of like card advantage that Wizards wants to, and it's I don't think it's a coincidence that the One Ring and Orcish Bowmasters are in the same set. That it's like the yin to the yang.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah. You cannot have one without the other. There needs to be some amount of like pushback. And Bowmaster, well, we saw like there's some more like all of the like anti-card draw cards always feel super messed up, but in reality they're just like, hang on, slow down.
Right. Maybe this person over here that's drawing 6 extra cards a turn is the problem. Hey, it's me. I'm the problem.
Everyone's like, whoa, Shieldred, just a messed up card, right? And you're like, not really. It's just a 4 mana legendary creature.
Maybe it's not. We don't really know.
I think it's mostly just telling you that you need to play fair.
Come on, man.
Yeah.
Is that old Monicum, whoever draws more cards wins the game?
Not necessarily anymore. I'll gladly drain you out with a Shieldred.
It's also really cool how like, so the One Ring, although it doesn't tempt you, is extremely tempting, and you will quite literally die. I have killed myself several times with a One Ring.
And you don't regret it, right?
So like you're like, I need to find an answer for my own One Ring, so I better draw 4 more cards here. Yep. Like
at the same time, like, were you winning that game if you didn't draw those cards?
Dude, I played a game against Jeremiah on Friday night where he was mega dead to the One Ring. It had, I don't know how many counters on it. It had like 4 or 5. It might have had 6 counters on it. I don't remember.
Sure.
And he kept like, he'd put the trigger on the stack and he's like, okay, I'll draw 4 more cards. And he's like, oh, I got a Path to Exile for my 4/4. So guess I get to survive another turn. And then he untaps the next turn and he's like, oh, I'll put the trigger on the stack and I'll draw some more cards. And he's like, I got a Kaya's Guile to gain 4 life. Let's go. The fact that like you could put the trigger on the stack and then draw a huge chunk of cards. Like potentially just
at instant speed, like have an answer for your own.
Find a way to gain a bunch of life or put that bad boy back into your hand.
Yeah, and so like looking at that and those play patterns, you're kind of like, yeah, it makes sense that Wizards would be like, Hull Breacher. Yep, totally fine and good card.
Yeah.
Honestly, at this point, I'm just like waiting for green and red to get some real good card draw hate. Like, yeah, give it to us, baby.
I think there is. Isn't there a green one? Oh, maybe there's not.
If there is, you should tell me right now.
Maybe there's not.
You're just like, yeah, there is. You're just not telling me. It's fine.
Hey, I don't keep secrets.
But yeah, so Chains was the original one of these, right? Mm-hmm. Like Chains of Mephistopheles.
I believe so.
And I do think that it is underplayed. Like, people kind of are sleeping on it.
The very first Legacy GP that I played in, I had 2 copies of Chains of Mephistopheles in my sideboard. Mm-hmm. And this was probably, let's see, 2010, 2012, something like that. And
okay. So early modern is like the early modern sets were coming out, right? Like no.
Yeah. No.
We were squarely in the middle of the modern, like.
Well, yeah, no, modern I don't think was a thing until like
no, it's still extended.
2000. I think modern came out in 2009. Don't quote me on that. I'm not 100% sure, but I believe it was 2008 or 2009.
Okay.
But so yeah, the first Legacy GP that I played in, I had 2 copies of Chains of Mephistopheles in my sideboard, and just bring those in against all the Brainstorm decks. Never ever felt bad.
It's only 2 mana too. In my mind, I was always like, this thing's 4 mana. It's
because I was playing a Mox Diamond deck. Yeah. So I was playing turn 1 Chains of Mephistopheles. Yeah. And Orcish Bowmaster is Chains that has flash.
Yeah. And
so you play it in a Mox Diamond deck these days, your opponent goes for their turn 1 Brainstorm, and you're like, take 3, take 4.
I've seen so many Legacy games right now where it's like they Brainstorm and you're just like, cool, Bowmaster, kill your Death Rage, your DRS, the Dragon's Rage Channeler.
Yeah, Dragon's Rage Channeler.
And then deal 1 to you, and then deal 3 more to you, and make my thing a 4/4.
So I'm at the Legacy tournament that's on the 29th. I'm playing 4 Mox Diamonds and 4 Orcish Bowmasters.
It's arguably correct.
I don't know if it's correct, but that's what I'm gonna do.
I think it is, with the number of like you just get to play Brainstorm in that format. You get to play 4 Brainstorms in that format. I'm not
playing Brainstorm. I'm not gonna get got by Bowmasters.
I'm saying that the meta at all gets to play like Brainstorm and Ponder and like, you know, all of these free like sort of like card selection spells, and it's the same Canadian Highlander where like if you're in blue, you're probably playing Brainstorm and Ponder and Preordain, and then maybe Consider. And then maybe Sleight of Hand, but really generally it's those ones. And you can do some real damage with this. Mm-hmm. Like, Bowmaster is just a house.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like, here, kill my first one. I have 3 more.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Obviously, there's some weaknesses to it. Cards that get around it, like Dredge, sort of like circumvents the
right. You just get to ignore it.
Yeah.
Dredge, although Dredge kind of just ignores everything anyway, so that's hardly an argument.
It's like the kid like everybody else is playing a sport, and Dredge is like in the sandbox eating dirt. Like, do you want to play kickball? And he's like,
that's hilarious.
I know who I am.
On that note, thanks for listening to this episode of Magic Dad's podcast. Yeah. Please subscribe to the channel. Go check out our Patreon. And I just want to remind you that we're proud
of you.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody. Love you.